All righty. Hey, Stephen, thanks for hopping on this Zoom call. Unfortunately, we were going to do a Facebook Live, but we have a technical difficulty. So for anybody that's watching this recorded Zoom call, that's the reason why we're doing this. We're being resourceful, figuring a way how to make it happen. So to continue the conversation from last night, Stephen, let's just backtrack and pretend that this is a brand new call. So share with us, or share with the people that's going to listen to this call, a little bit about your background, and then we'll go into the topic for today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been an Ironman performance coach, helping people with their training and their nutrition since 1990. It's about 28 years now. And I've coached people to over 1,400 Ironman races, thousands of shorter distance triathlons and running races. I've had dozens of people qualify for the Ironman Hawaii World Championships. I've had athletes win world championships for age group, ITU triathlon distances from Olympic distance to long course. I've got a PB for Ironman of 9 hours and 21 minutes. More exciting for me about that was that I did it on an average of about 13 or 14 hours a week of training. Because I'm always trying to figure out what's the most efficient, effective way of doing something. And when you can get good nutrition into your body and recover faster, you get way more out of your training. Whether you're an athlete or a normal person who's not training for something, but you're just trying to maintain good health, you get proper macronutrients, good clean macronutrients in there, and you get those complete micronutrient profiles. So the minerals, the probiotics, the prebiotics, the phytonutrients, all those things go into helping your body recover better as it regenerates at a cellular level. You're just going to become a healthier person. So that's kind of my background, working with people. It's not just what works for me, but it's what's worked with hundreds and thousands of people over the last almost 30 years to figure out what's going to help them get from where they are to where they want to be.
Right. Okay. All right. So what we're talking about this on this Zoom call, guys, is that Stephen has been on this 30-day Pro Edge program, which is healthy ketogenic. And so I asked him to get on here. So before we get started, and I'm going to say this to you, you and I, to be honest, about 45, 60 days ago, we were skeptical about keto, right? I mean, weren't you? Because I was.
Yeah, I've heard about keto for a long time. We both use a nutrition system that I started almost 12 years ago. So I've been doing keto concepts for almost a dozen years now and incorporating that into the training programs that I give to my clients because I want to help them become more fat adapted. As an endurance coach, we have a limited amount of glycogen in our system. So only a couple thousand calories that we can store in our muscles and liver. That doesn't mean a whole lot to normal people, but it should, because for a normal person, just like a lot of athletes, they're so hooked on sugar. If they don't eat carbohydrates and sugars every couple of hours, they start to get all shaky in their brain. They think their brain's about to say, hey, you got to eat something or else you're going to die, because that's what it feels like. But that's not what's happening. What we're doing is we are meant to access fat for fuel. It's a great energy source in our body, but for almost everybody, when you're hooked on sugars, that fat source is cut off from availability. So you gain fat, but you don't burn it very effectively. So I've been teaching people how to access that fat more effectively over the last dozen years because it works great for performance. It's also awesome for your health. And I looked at the keto program as a whole and said, well, I'm not doing that because number one, there's a very small amount of carbohydrates in there. And for the most part, I know there's some nutrition in meat and there's nutrition in some fatty foods like avocados, but for the most part, most of your nutrition is going to be coming in from carbohydrates. If you're following a diet that's 5 to 10% of your calories are carbohydrates, I'm like, that's not going to be healthy. I don't care whether it works. But there's a difference between what works and what's healthy. Energy drinks work, but they're not healthy. So I'm not going to use them, right? And keto is the same thing. And on the other end of the spectrum, they've got the high fats. And I'm like, okay, so was that bacon, right? Like I like ribeye steak, but I don't want to get all my fats in from that. And over and over and over again, what I kept hearing was people talking about, oh yeah, I can eat all the bacon and meat that you want. I like bacon, I like meat, but I don't want to get all my fats from that. And so those two things kind of turned me off the keto program in general, even though I was using a lot of keto concepts. So the fasting, cellular cleansing days we do, those are ketogenic, right? They're getting your body into a state of ketosis so you can clear the toxins out and better access that fat for fuel. So I've been using that for a long time, but keto, the way it's presented to most people, not appealing to me.
Right. So why is it when we mention the word keto? I mean, this is before, just like when we talked about. This was 60 days ago when you and I had this conversation. It's like, no. But why is it that most people? I mean, I've seen people that have great result with it, and I've seen people that did not. And I guess that's where that's where I came from. I can't speak for you. So what is we talked about this. There's the regular or dirty keto, and then there's healthy ketogenic, incorporating our nutritional system, right?
Yeah. Well, I like when you say dirty keto, because it does. You can do it in a good, healthy way. It's probably going to cost a little bit more money, but it's healthy, right? Because you're getting higher quality products into your system. And when doing it in a healthier way was presented to me maybe almost 2 months ago, when you and I were talking about it a bit, and I thought, I'm going to give it a try, because it makes sense that would be a better way to go. If I can get the nutritional support from whole food supplements to take care of the fact that you're not getting a lot of nutrition because you're eating such low amount of carbs. And I know it was just going to be a month, so I wasn't that concerned about it, but I don't like to go for very long without getting good nutrition into my body, because our cells are constantly regenerating, and I want those cells regenerating with optimal nutrition. So when the nutrition component was taken care of, and number two, because there's 4 big things. There's the nutrition, there's the quality of the macronutrients. So that's the fats, the proteins, and the carbs. So the carbs we can take care of, because if you're just lowering your carbs to about 5 or 10%, then you have no choice but to focus on the highest quality carbs, right? You're getting rid of the rice, the bread, the potatoes, the pasta. There's just no room for you to do that if you're limiting your carbs to under 20 net grams of carbs a day, or for the first 2 weeks, and then 50 for the next 2 weeks. So I knew that the quality of carbs was going to be taken care of. And our whey protein replacement is super high quality and bioavailable. So if I was going to be doing a lot of that during the program, there's some good quality protein, and then I could add in the rest of the other 50 to 60 grams or whatever protein I was going to be eating in every day with normal other foods, proteins from plants and meat. And then the high quality fats. So we wanted to focus people in on that. So it's not just eating bacon all the time, but it's having some good high fat dairy products, cheese, cream, butter, ghee, so clarified butter, MCT oil, coconut oil, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, avocados, right? There's so many great food quality sources, but it's about coaching people, which is the third component of really helping people understand and get rid of that uncertainty. And that's what I was able to really do effectively over the last month, is help those 1,780 people that are in the group I was coaching understand what's important for them to do, because I really dug into it, took all the concepts of doing keto type things that I was doing over the last 12 years, incorporated that into the almost 30 years of performance nutrition and training that I was able to help people do, and guide folks through this program over the last month to help them get phenomenal results that will direct people to later. And then the fourth component of it was the cellular cleansing. And nobody else is doing that when it comes to keto. So you can set your body up into ketosis and put it into a point where you're better able to access fat for fuel. But the reality is, for everybody on this earth, I don't care how well you eat, you're absorbing toxins and impurities into your body. If you don't support your body's natural processes, which are under siege and under provided in terms of nutrition, if you don't support them, like your liver, with good trace minerals, so it can do that conversion of these fat-soluble toxins to get them out of your body, you can put yourself into a better state for burning fat. But if that fat's locked onto toxins, you're not going to get it very well. So I think that combination of those 4 things, high quality nutrition, better focus on quality macronutrients, effective coaching to help people understand what's going on and remove the uncertainty, and then that cellular cleansing. Those 4 main things have just made that whole program so incredibly effective. Like, I just copied down the results from 30 people that I sort of looked at what they were posting on our group, and the average weight loss of those 30 people, combination of men and women, 12 pounds. And the average inches lost of 5 different areas in their body, if their thigh, their waist, their butt, their chest, and their arm, 14 inches average over these 30 people. So extremely effective. I know you're going to ask me some more questions in a bit, so I'll pause here about who's this is for, and some cautions, but I'll pause there.
Well, but that's where, I was going to ask you to share your experience. I think you and your wife did this for, you participate in this program the last 30 days. and you share some of the stories of some of the people. There's, we don't need to name any names, but that's phenomenal results. And then there are some people that you said that was hit that weight plateau, or maybe that mental block or something, right? Can you share some of that also too? Again, like us, skeptical, but you made that decision. I didn't. You know what? Lesson learned. But you were skeptical, and then you went through, and then all of a sudden it was like this phenomenal result. Plus, you didn't need to lose weight. I mean, this is not about losing weight. There's other benefit, which I'm starting to understand.
Yeah. So that's a great. There's three things there. So number one, Michelle and I. So she's a elite age group triathlete in super shape. She lost 6 pounds and got down to 133 pounds. She hasn't been that weight, she said, since before her kids were born. So she looks like Ironman race ready right now. She's so lean and strong. Power's gone up on the bike, and her strength to weight ratio has gone through the roof because she's dropped that 6 pounds, but she was already in great shape. I lost 9 pounds through the program. I just leaned out probably about an inch to an inch and a quarter off kind of back, chest, belly, waist, butt area. I wasn't fat before, but I could lean out. I'm healthy, but I'm not a health freak. I'm not interested in doing the 100% effort to get that last 20%. I'm an 80-20 guy. And I like ribeye steak. I like drinking wine. I don't want to give up my life in order to be, single digit body fat percentage. I don't care about that anymore. I did when I was racing. I'm not interested in that anymore. But I just went into this thing aware of the importance of good quality food, but not aware of how much carbohydrates and crap was in the food until I started really tracking it and really digging in to get under that 20 grams a day. And it wasn't hard for me because going into it, my normal diet was about 25, 30% carbs, so not super high, not like it was when I was racing years ago. I've cut that in half. Protein, 20 or so percent, 20, 25% is what my protein typically is. And my fats were about 50%. And maybe 40% healthy fats, and maybe 5 or 10% unhealthy fats like bacon and stuff like that. But again, I'm living my life and I'm enjoying things. So when I got into the program, it wasn't a big change for me, but just identifying what foods had a lot of carbohydrates in them and just moving those out of my system, really locking my system into that ketogenic fat access. It just, the fat came off, that excess little layer that I had. Felt great. Same thing for Michelle. Other than that, it was just more consistent energy, which I was pretty good with. A little bit more mental clarity. Big thing I noticed was the better sleep at night. I just normally I'd wake up in the middle of the night, even around 3:30 every night, take a tour around the house, make sure everything looks good, go to the bathroom, back to sleep. Now, boom, dude, I'm out all night long, falling asleep. I wake up in the morning, a bit more energized than normal. But again, I'm already at a higher level of health. So going to the people that were doing the program, and I've been connecting with so many people because they're asking me directly what's going on, how to take it to the next level, making sure they're on track. If they've got a question or a concern, I'm going to help clarify that. So been very active in the group. And again, almost 1,800 people in this group, and I've seen so much amazing results. Here's a summary of what's happened. Extremely effective for women, especially in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, I found. Even guys that were in great shape like me, 9, 10, 12 pounds coming off. Some guys 15, some guys 20 or more, right? But let's focus on the women because most of the people that are going to be interested in that, they're stuck. They're at a plateau, right? They can't break through no matter what they do, right? No matter how much they watch their calories. And I'm not just saying restrict their calories because it's important to make sure you're getting enough. But no matter how focused they are on their caloric intake and how much they're working out, that weight is just not budging. It's just nothing they can do is going to take it up. And things like, our nutrition program that we work with, they can go through that. But I think one of the things that people, as they go through this program, kind of like what I found, and you're going to find as well, one of the things they really notice is how much carbs there are in food. And even though they thought that they were following the program properly, this really made it aware. And they'd heard it a million times before, right? Yeah, watch what carbs you're eating. Until you go into this program and get through it, you don't get it. You just do not get how much sugar and carbohydrates are in foods out there. But when you focus in on making sure it's under 20 grams net a day, it's hard for a few days because you're like, yeah, I can't eat that. I can't eat that. I can't eat that. And you start to pump it into the app that we'll connect you to. The next thing you know, it's like, okay, I got it. And now you're in a groove. And within a week, the weight's starting to come off because your body's switching over into that fat burning mode now because there are no carbs available for your body to burn, right? Some people, if you're really high on a sugar intake going into this, and this is an exciting part of it, you're going to feel like dirt for a few days because your body's moving away from that sugar access to a more fat-focused fuel source. And you want that. Believe me, you want to go through that difficulty. But when you do, you're going to have such clarity and such awareness of the foods that you're eating. If anything, that's what's the big prize of going through this, is just that better mental focus and awareness of when you're eating, what's contributing to your health and what's detracting from it. Because I think so many people today have been so snowed by the food industry and what they think is important for people to eat, and it has absolutely nothing to do with what's important for you. And by going through this program, no matter how skeptical you are about keto, like I was and you were, right? I remember the conversations we had a month or two ago, and it's not like I was trying to convince you, right? Because I knew where you were because I was there maybe a little ways before, right? And like nobody could have convinced me, right? I had to get there on my own. So that's why I'm talking to tons of people right now about this who are curious. And if they're putting up roadblocks, I go, hey, you know what? It's just not, you're not ready for it. Don't worry. Hey, I don't need to convince you. I've got so many people that are getting started on this. I'm just willing to help you out if you're ready. And that's where you and I were a little while ago, right? I was like, hey, Joseph, this is why I'm doing it. I mean, I'm curious. I think it's going to work based on what I know, especially because of those 4 things that I talked about earlier, right? The coaching support, the higher quality focus on macronutrients, the better nutritional support that we're going to make sure people do, and then that cleansing component for the cells and the proper fasting. That package is so powerful, and that's what's really allowed people to get amazing results going through this program. And then their own awareness, if they're paying attention, right, to what's been happening, is really where it takes it to that next level. And that's why the results have been so phenomenal. So.
Right. I mean, when I spoke to you last week, after hearing what you said, I was like, you know what, Joseph, stop being so close-minded. Stop being so skeptical. Do your homework and give it a shot. Give it a shot. What do you have to lose? And that's why I kept telling it to myself. And so I realized that 30 days is, like you said, is nothing, right? I mean, afterward, you go back, you not go back, but you kind of go back to your normal life, but you still, now you're more educated. And I believe that's what it is. That's what I want. I'm looking out for this next 30 days. And there's a new challenge or a new program starting on November 26th, correct?
Yep.
And so I'm going to jump on it, Stephen. I'm going to jump on. I'm going to do my experiment, and I'm going to do it just because I want to, just like you, I can't experience what you experienced until I go through it. Just like you, I don't need to lose weight. And you look at me, I don't need it, but I think that it's the other benefit that I'm looking for. And so therefore, I need to be open-minded. That's the reason why I'm doing this. And talk a little bit more. I mean, this 30-day program, or we call it Pro Edge, is, can you go in a little bit more detail about that?
Yeah, so, absolutely. So
who's watching this, they're going to go, you know what, I'm curious. I might want to do this with Joseph.
Yeah, you have to be accepted into the program, which is you're going to join either of our teams, right, to get into being able to access that higher quality nutrition and protein and the cleansing drink, because it's not going to work. You're not going to get into the group if you don't get that stuff. That's number one. So that's going to cost you a bit of money. That minimum pack is going to replace 60 meals. So there's no cost to it. You're just shifting some money around.
It's an investment.
Sorry?
It's an investment in your health.
Totally an investment. It's like health assurance, right? And then the coaching, once you get into the group, is free. Now, there's tons of information. There's thousands of people already in this group posting amazing results and information on there to make it easier. And a big thing that I've found from people within the group is they tried keto before. I remember asking a specific question. Who's done keto before? Compare that with this and all that nutritional support, the higher quality macronutrients, the coaching, the cleansing days. What's the difference? And it was unbelievable. It was such a perfect question to ask because it gave people the opportunity to say how bad they felt doing normal keto. They were inflamed. They didn't feel good. All they were eating was bacon and fat. Didn't get guidance, right? The coaching wasn't there. They didn't have that cellular cleansing component to it. And there was no nutritional support, no focus on that. And if they did try and do that, they didn't really know what to do. We take care of all that for people. So it just makes it a no-brainer for them. But the ProEdge thing, once you get signed up with somebody, either myself or Joseph, right? Or somebody that you know that's in the company, get dialed in, get accepted into the program. We'll send you a link to get into that group. Once you're in the group, then we can coach you through how to do it properly along with everybody else. But it's a 4-week program. It's going to take you right from November 26th to December 23rd. Don't freak out about it being holidays, because once you start to understand what keto-friendly type meals are, you're like, okay, those are all the foods that when I go to a party, I actually want to eat anyways, right? If you're on a diet, you look at those foods and you go, I can't eat those, because this isn't a diet. All we're doing is adjusting your carbs down, and most of the carbs are all the crappy carbs that you don't really want to get in your body if you're focused on health. Again, if you don't care about your health at all, then don't worry about this, right? This isn't for you. But if you're looking to make a change, and that's more important to you than having another, breaded whatever, right? Or candy pop of some sort, then you can do this through the holidays easy. There's even through Thanksgiving, there's a ton of meals out there that are super keto friendly. So how it normally works is we're going to take you through 2 weeks of the low carb. So under 20 net grams of carbs a day. So if you've got 30 grams of carbs of food and there's 10 grams of fiber, take the 30 minus the 10, that's 20. So that's what 20 net grams of carbs mean. We're going to do that for 2 weeks. Then we're going to go into 2 weeks of under 50 grams, which seems like Christmas morning and that you've hit the lottery, because after you do 20 grams for 2 weeks, under 50 is so simple. Most people had a hard time getting up into the 40s after 2 weeks of under 20. So don't worry about that. The hardest thing is just tracking things the first couple of days. Once you get into the groove, it's like, okay, that's simple. I'll just keep doing that for the next 2 weeks. Similar minor adjustments to your intake. But here's a typical day for me, because everybody wants to know, what's a typical day look like? We're going to do 16 hours of fasting every day. So that starts from about 7 p.m. the night before till about 11 a.m. the next morning. So you wake up in the morning, you have coffee, you put some clarified butter or pasture-raised butter or ghee or MCT oil or coconut oil. So a clean fat into your coffee or tea or bone broth or warm water, whatever. Or don't do anything, but you'll be hungrier for the morning. So that fat, that oil in your coffee in the morning keeps you full until 11 o'clock. It doesn't pull you out of the fast. At 11 o'clock, you have that isopro shake, so high quality protein, between 1 and 2 scoops, depending on your protein requirements. A couple of hours later, maybe around 1:30, you're going to have a nice, healthy, keto-friendly meal. Could be like tuna with mayonnaise or a hard-boiled egg, cheese, olives, some lettuce, right? Some green onions chopped up, radishes, like just healthy food, but low on the carbs. So low glycemic carbs, not sugary carbs. You're never going to have corn, right? This probably avoid carrots. Right. So boring vegetables, but lots of high fat, moderate protein, low carb foods. And there's so much information on there about what those are. We have an app that will direct you to punch all this stuff in, ideally the night before or that morning. What I found works really well is punch in to the app what you plan on eating that day and look at the numbers and go, okay, I'm on track with my calories, I'm on track with my macronutrients. A few hours later after that lunch, you have another shake, right? High quality protein to make sure we're getting good quality amino acids into your system. And then for dinner, you're going to have a nice keto friendly type meal. And then it would be an example, like for me, it would be a ribeye steak with some asparagus sauteed in butter, right?
It's a normal meal.
It's delicious, man. It's
a normal
awesome.
meal, a typical night.
I bought a creme brulee torch because I found a creme brulee keto friendly recipe, and I made some keto creme brulee for dessert for Michelle and I.
Was it good?
It was delicious. Yeah, it was really good. Now, in all honesty, the sugar version of creme brulee is amazing and to die for, and I make a really awesome creme brulee. But to be on this program and be able to still have creme brulee, even though I was using like an alcohol sugar, I was using erythritol, and it was It was awesome. It was really good. So anyways, that's a typical day, and just kind of do that kind of thing over and over. Maybe one day be pork, the other day be chicken. Here's the thing, because I like to be honest with people and let them know how it's going to be. Initially, it's going to be hard getting your carbs down. So I always say, as soon as you know you're going to do this, start for the few days before you're actually going to be officially starting. Start cranking those carbs down on purpose to start to see what you need to do. But once you get into that, the carb thing isn't the big deal, because you just know, oh, I can't have that. The hard thing is getting used to having a higher amount of fat without having so much protein in your diet. It's like keeping the protein moderate at 25% and getting the fat up to 70% of your calories. That's the tough part for people, because they've got the mindset of, well, this is a diet and I shouldn't be eating all that fat. But it's not a diet, and you need to eat that amount of fat. And it's all relative to your caloric intake, because it's 70% of your calories. So it's not like I'm going to tell you have to eat 8 buckets of bacon. It's relative to what your energy expenditure and intake is going to be. So anyways, that's kind of how a day looks like. It's not that complicated. It's different. And like whenever anything's different, it's going to take a few days to adjust. But once you get into the groove of it, you're going to start to go through, your body's going to start to change. That fat's going to come off. Inflammation is going to come off. A keto-focused program is really effective for people who have yeast issues. So if you've got a candida issue, and a lot of people don't even know they do, and it's worse in women, but guys get it too. You start going through that and starving your body of the sugar. And there's so many other benefits to lowering your sugar intake in terms of diseases that are out there. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, but it's so good to kick sugar out of your diet. Even if you're not focused on doing keto for a long-term period of time, a month of messing around with your macros is going to be something I think you're going to really benefit from and take so much away from physically, as well as emotionally and mentally. I've just found so many great benefits of going through this program and watching so many other people do the same thing.
Man, this is great information that you're sharing. So I appreciate your time. So any lasting thoughts before I wrap up this call?
No, I think anybody can benefit from this. If you don't have any restrictions on what you can eat, right? Because that's all we're doing, is we're just changing your percentage of macronutrients into your body. If you don't have restrictions on what you can eat, then you can probably safely go through this. I say it that way because sometimes diabetics have issues with what they need to eat, right? Certain amounts of blood sugars in their body and how they're dealing with insulin. Other people as well. So if you've got those kind of restrictions, check with your doctor before you do this. But other than that, right, they might put you on a monitoring program to make sure that any changes in your sugar and fat processing are adapted to any medication that you're on or anything that's going on with your doctor. But other than that, just get started on it, see how it feels. And I think you're going to enjoy the process and awareness of what's happening. Because those are the two big things that people become, they become aware of what they're eating, and they start to clean up their diet even more. I was a pretty healthy eater for the most part before. I was just taking it to another level now going through this program. So
that's what I'm curious about, just taking it to another level. So here's the thing, guys. If you're interested in this, you PM Stephen, PM myself for more detail. And if you're open and you want to do this, hey, hop on, let's do this. And if you're not, hey, take this as an education. Hopefully we brought some value to you to understand what keto is about. There's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. So, hey, buddy, I really appreciate you doing this. Really appreciate taking the time. I know you're super busy, and let's talk again soon, all right?
Thanks, man. Yeah, appreciate it. Take it easy.
Right, bye.